Some viewers may find this content disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Shane Michael Crisp from the West Coast Dogman Project. This is always amazing to see you here in the Fox Den for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. I am starving and need to feast. Much better. Absolutely delicious. I can feel my powers being unleashed through my veins. Without further ado, yes, it is time for the West Coast Dogman Vortex and myself to take a walk into the darkness.
Welcome back, my creatures of the night. Yes, again, it is midnight lycanthropy time. And tonight we have an amazing guest, one of my best friends in general, and also the person that recruited me to the North American Dogman Project. I would not even exist at this point in time in this realm if it was not for Shane Michael Christ from the West Coast Dogman Vortex, yes, and part of the North American Dogman Project. How are you doing tonight, bro?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, brother. I'm truly honored.
Yes, it's very excellent to get you on and pick your knowledge, and you're pretty much up there with the OGs in this field. So let's try to figure out what's going on with the Dogman.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, brother. Like I said, I'm glad to call you my friend, one of my best friends in this field, and honored to have you on the team here at the North American Dogman Project, as well as our other little projects I've been working on and creating on the side. So just having you as a historian and someone that is very knowledgeable in what you're doing, keep up the great work you're doing, man. Like I said, I'm just super happy for what you're doing.
Very kind words, and I appreciate that much, and I feel the same way back. And also, I believe you were the first podcast I was given an opportunity to sit down and chat on too. So you definitely paved me on the right path and gave me a platform to pick people's mind and also learn and gather information. So it's much appreciated.
Yeah, anytime. Like I said, anyone that wants to go check out that interview, it was really great. You can go check us out on YouTube or on Facebook at West Coast Dogman Project, and just look for Kenny Thibodeau. And it was a great interview. And like I said, I was truly honored to have you on. And here you are now. You've got your own podcast, and like I said, you've grown so much since that podcast, man. And just watching you grow, it's been truly an honor to see.
Again, such appreciation right there and very kind words. And to my audience, if you have yet not checked out Shane's stuff, as I said, he's part of the North American Dogman Project. So if you are in our groups, he is the bright green page. But if you are not in our groups, join my group and you can very much easily find his group from there. And also in this video, I will have a link to his YouTube page where he does live interviews with guests. So make sure to check out that.
Much appreciation. Like I said, brother, like you said, you can look us up on YouTube, or even go to NorthAmericanDogmanProject.com, and you will probably find one of us there. We'll get in contact for sure. If you're interested in joining, becoming a field investigator, or even a state rep, we'd love to have you. We're growing, we're rebuilding. I wouldn't even say we're rebuilding, we're reloading. We're the largest Dogman organization in the world, so definitely reach out to us if you're interested.
Yes, reloading is a great word, or revamping. I like that. And also to my audience, as Shane stated, on our webpage, you're able to find who your regional director would be. Check out that. And if you do have any issues, there is a generalized email on there for reports as well, where you can reach out to us and we'll help gear you in the proper direction. But tonight, as I said, we are going to dive into some of the interesting aspects of the Dogman on the West Coast. And Shane would be somebody that would know much more living out there than I do up here near the Canadian line, eh?
Yeah, that's for sure. I am dive in. I'm a Dogman fanatic, is what I like to call myself. And this phenomenon keeps growing and growing. But everything that's out west of the Colorado Rockies, I'm documenting it. I'm trying to write up reports at the same time, trying to appoint certain people in certain, roles when they do join the NADP, whether there's a field investigator or a state representative role that isn't filled. We're trying to fill all the state roles out here because the Region 1 covers the 11 states in the West from Wyoming all the way up to Alaska, down to Hawaii, all the way over to Nevada and Colorado and Utah. So, like I said, that we don't have any recent reports that I've seen that are newer, but we do have a handful that it's just, you don't think dogmen are generalized in just one area. There's sightings all across the United States, all the way up from Alaska down to Florida and up where you're at, Kenny, up in Maine. So, I mean, is there a pattern? That's one thing I try to look for is, as you dive down certain rabbit holes, is there a connection? It seems like there is a connection in certain aspects, but like you and I've talked about, Kenny, in recent weeks, we talked about, the underground cave systems where you transparented the underground cave systems with the missing 411s, and it's almost identical. So it's like you start looking for their pattern. Is there a flesh and blood aspects to this, or is it a metaphysical aspect to it? We really don't know. That's what we're trying to do, is collect reports, gather, and collaborate with other Dogman researchers.
Preach, my friend, preach. And again, to my audience, if you wonder why some of our regional directors, such as Shane, don't have as much time to consistently push out content, as he just said, 11 states. Myself, I represent the state of Maine. Yes, I help in many other ways, but I do not cover 11 states. Well, yes, I do about documenting, but like Shane said, there's much more to a regional director than a state director. Cut him a little slack right there, but no worries. We are getting, as Shane said, everything rolling back in line. And yeah, the whole missing people thing, like you said, straight up nightmare fuel. And when I sandwiched that together, even Jody was like, nice. And when you look at that, when you look at that, though, it is like, okay, well, what is occurring? And we don't look in cave systems for people when they're going missing, which I understand why. We know less about cave systems than we do probably outer space. And you can't really get in there to look all around. But I do have a very high hunch that a lot of these missing people are probably some of their remains or belongings are down there.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. And like you said, there's just like with the whole phenomenon, we're trying to just grasp what is this thing? How is it traveling? Is it using the cave systems, or is it using the waterways as a highway? Or is it just following the food source? We don't know. But like you said, we don't know about the missing 411 cases. If you look at David Pilates' system, how he kind of breaks down, is it, whether it's a cryptid, or is it just natural elements, or is it, a bear attack? I mean, trying to break it down. I think he breaks it down into 6 categories. So I don't think every missing 411 case is a Bigfoot or a Dogman that's eating on these people, but it very well possibly could be. And I know Pilates he's a Bigfoot guy. He tries to not spin the Bigfoot narrative towards people, but he leaves it open for people to decide what, he presents what this is what happened and this is what, what went on around this time. So it's up to the reader or the viewer. And I know he's got a real successful channel himself. So, but we try to, look at everything where the hot spots are. I know at the NADP, Jody's done a really good job about tracking with the encounters map. And you start trying to look for a pattern. And, obviously on the East Coast, you have a lot more sightings. That's what I'm just trying to think. Like, is it, you look over on the West, there is quite a few, but not as many. Like you zoom in on the map, there's more red dots that are pinged, up near the Northeast and down in the South, and up near Michigan. So it's like, is this thing following like a migrational pattern, or are they just popping up left and right? And I know there's according to the NADP's list, there's 7 different types of dogmen, but that's where we try to, see, is there a certain pattern? Is it the hyena canine variant, or is it, the Timberwolf looking? I mean, these things are popping up all over the U.S. So it's so hard, because once you finally think you have one case documented and say this was what it was, 4 more are popping up, and then you have to verify those. So it's literally like a full-time job.
Again, preach. I mean, it's so true. And I couldn't agree with all that more. And I actually have a few things to add to that. When you say the waterways, I've documented a bunch of different cases where people have seen them digging burrows inside of the banks of rivers and lakes. And also I've talked to different people, including a couple up in Canada, that were on a board, like a boogie board. And when they came around the corner of an island, a little point, I wouldn't say an island, just a little point at the end of the land, they saw what they thought was a dog that was swimming in the water, and they thought it was the people's dog that on this boat that was coming in. They were trying to wave down the people in the boat, and as the boat was coming closer, it spooked the dog that was kind of swimming towards them, or what they thought was the dog, and it popped his head out and whipped its head towards them, and it had glowing eyes, they said, and they said it looked like a demon-looking type dog, and it dived down, swam, and got up and left the water. So think, any animals, of course, use water systems to get along, or cave systems. If generalized, known documented species of animals like muskrats dig into the side of banks and use little tunnels, fox have burrows. Obviously, anything that we haven't documented yet is going to do that as well. Recently, I was informed and actually witnessed myself through Monster Quest, was pretty cool. I was never aware that Jody also found a baboon skull in the middle of the forest in Ohio. The question is, how does that get there? And then the politest thing that you're speaking about, I believe there's a lot going on. This is just my theory. I believe you, yes, have some feral people, but I also believe that's been mostly eradicated, because my theory is feral people would be malnourished and could only do so much. And if the has sent in hit squads, like they said, they would have pretty much eradicated the feral people population. So yes, there would still be a few of those, but there would have to be a whole ton of crazy amped up descent type feral people to take on a group such as yourself and some of the other people that might go missing out there. But I do believe that, yes, is occurring. I believe some have had misfortunes, fallen down, and just maybe fallen down a crevice. I do believe, yes, some are normal animal predation that has occurred. I also believe that the serial theory, because if you and I, for example, and other people in society would like to get away and out to nature and enjoy the lack of noise and the lack of cell phone service, yes, other people that are deranged are going to do that. And Hulu actually just had an episode about that, an elderly gentleman that would prey on people that were vulnerable, have his dog go up, and then he'd hit them and whatever, long story short. And I also do believe Sasquatch and Dogman are all involved. All those things I just said to you are my responses, I guess, to what you had just stated. And what do you feel about all that?
No, I totally agree with all that. And I was just watching a couple episodes earlier from Mr. Ballin talking about that serial real quick. Gentleman killed 2 miles from where he was currently camping in 2006, hiker. But then he met these other 2 people. He was out there living in the wilderness, and like I said, he ended up attacking these 2. Luckily, they both survived, and the gentleman was, arrested. But it was just, and that was along the Appalachian Trail. So yeah, there's definitely the serial aspect to it. So, but I do start to look more for like the Dogman. It's like the serial killer intriguing, but we're not crime solve investigators or CSI. Yes. I mean, we're in this to look for the Bigfoots, the Dogman, and the cryptid attacks. That's what we want to know. We want to know. We want to prove to disprove if it is cryptid or if it's a normal, animal like a mountain lion or a bear attack. So that's, we're trying to differentiate what it is. But I do, like you said, I do believe that the Dogman and I do believe that the Sasquatch do attack more than what is being reported out there, because like you said, this is all people, your everyday person's going to think this is tin foil, but we have to have the people that are wearing the tinfoil unwrapping this to kind of prove it. Like you and I talked about the Brenda Hamilton case, for example, or the Corey Godsey case. There's just so much cover up on those that a natural known predator, for example, like a mountain lion, I don't think can carry a 13-year-old boy up a 400 foot steep ravine. It just doesn't make sense. They can say, oh, a wild dog did it. I don't know what wild dog, whether it's a Malamute or a Husky, would not carry a kid up that far, especially a young boy. And rest in peace, Corey, and to his, condolences to his family. But I'm just saying, a 13-year-old boy of average height and average weight, that's carry something that far up, even a mountain lion would be winded and not go that far. So that's where we start looking into it and looking at the cryptid side of it and trying to just break it down. And there's so many reports I know that Jody has received, and I'm pretty sure you've seen a few yourself, Kenny, that have been redacted, that there's something that they're covering up, but you can't get the report on it. It's just, that's where we're kind of left on a cold case file. It's like, it's up for the people that, we do have a lot of podcasters out there that will try to spin the narrative, and then they'll take what they know and then make a creepy pasta out of it. And it's just, I think that's what also doesn't ruin the field, but it puts us in a limelight to where people such as ourselves that are looking into this and taking this stuff serious, that they're making $1 off of it and just spinning the narrative like, oh, it's just creepy pasta. People, I guess, that want to listen to that stuff will jump into that. But deep down, what we're trying to do at the North American Dogman Project is prove that this thing does exist and to let people know that, hey, these things are out there.
Again, preach away, and I couldn't agree with all that more, because it's all facts, and that's why Nuxium always gets offended when people won't even let him speak about what happened, because at quote unquote, I'm going to leave out the F part, but as he says, every time I get one of these casts or an image of a footprint, I almost effing. So people, yeah, they totally don't understand that. And also, I guess, to touch on, like you said, the tinfoil hat aspect. Well, we got Colleen, an environmentalist, who signed on with us, and she's actually coming on tomorrow night to speak about what's occurring. And two of her biologist friends have looked at some of our tracks and the coyote kills and are pretty intrigued and baffled and don't really have an explanation for what's occurring. And what Colleen was actually saying is, with the way we've encroached so much on the environment, animals that are known to humans have changed their behaviors. Even though potentially maybe in the past, Sasquatch might have been peaceful maybe towards us and guardians of the forest, etc. Well, we've also been so disrespectful now to the earth, encroaching on the environment, that their behaviors, if they do exist, and other animals that have been documented behaviors are changing. So why would their opinions of us as well not change? Why would their type of behaviors being potentially more negative also not change? Need to look at that in that regard and understand that there are things occurring. But it is good to, like you said, be able to bring on people like Colleen. I think we're really close to getting on the right track of getting science on the side. I mean, we got Doug Highcheck working with us, and look at, like you said, some of the prints and things. And as I preach a million times, I don't have a connection to any of these, okay? I didn't take any of these images. I didn't take any of these DNA samples, any of these castings. I did none of that. My goal is to figure out if it is real. Okay, so it is real. Well, is it a black bear, or is it unknown, or is this fake? That's it. And then I move on to what I'm doing, making sure that I'm documenting things. I don't go to bed at night sleeping better if a photo is debunked. I don't care if it's from a friend of mine or not. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is to figure out what's real and what's not. End of story.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And everything you just said was right on the nail. We're not trying to debunk all these photos. We're just trying to share the evidence of what is sent to us. There's been tracks that have been sent that were clearly a bear print, but someone says it was a Dogman. And that's the thing in this field, is we have people that will take other people's photos, say it's theirs, put a backstory on it, and steal it. One thing we kind of have to worry about, in this field, is plagiarism and someone's taking other people's evidence. But like you said, you don't sleep better at night because a photo got debunked. I've sent you a photo that I found really intriguing. It was a 7-inch track that, when I was out near hiking,
Yes.
it just really, of course, my whole thing is I got to prove to disprove, but it just had stood out because it had that 5th digit. I don't know if it was a dew claw, but it was a 7-inch heel, and it's just like, I said it to you, I'm like, hey, I don't know if this is, but like I said, we have to look at it, and it's good that we have people like the Ryan Tremblays in this field that will, people, oh, he debunks everything. Well, yeah, because half the stuff that's out there on the internet, we have social media platforms like TikTok, YouTube, or we have some podcasters that will take videos from TikTok and claim, oh, this is a Dogman, 5 scary stories of Dogman. And I mean, it's just everything you see online, you have to look at it with a certain perspective, that not everything is real. Just like when you look up anything in general online, not everything is being told the truth. It's someone's perspective on it. But you can clearly see, like when Ryan, I was sharing a photo real quick. I know we're limited time, but there was that photo from Michigan from 1968 where the Dogman's by a light pole and it's taken with a Polaroid. I was floating that around when I first got in this field saying, dude, this is a legit photo of a Dogman, because I had heard the backstory, but some creepy pasta narrator on YouTube said that this was a legit photo. And then luckily Ryan
Ding,
had,
ding, 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 ding.
yeah, exactly. Ryan had joined the group and said, hey, it's fake. I was like, how can you say it's fake? Well, Ryan breaks down it in a video that he had done with a buddy of his on a previous podcast from a couple of years ago. But they break it down to where you can clearly see when you invert the photo, it's the howling werewolf statue. Because he breaks it down that it's not just, oh, it's a statue and he doesn't put it side by side. He does put the side by side, but he breaks down every little thing of what he's breaking down and debunking. Like something like a Dogman that normally stands 7 feet tall, and especially with just something with so massive, it let's say it's 500-600 pounds, it's going to cast a big shadow, especially from a street light. Well, that photo didn't produce any shadow, and you clearly see the base at the bottom. And the people still to this day float that photo around as true evidence of Dogman. And then honestly, I think it's good that we have people that are out there to debunk photos. One thing I always try to tell people, photos are subjective in this field. And what we need to do is, question it. Is there multiple photos, especially from trail cams? Is there multiple photos? And where was this taken? What time? And then, try to break down the photo. Not criticizing the person that took it, but just try asking questions as like an investigator would. That, is there Dogman sightings looking in your certain area? I mean, that's what I always try to do, and I look and see if there was a pattern. There's a photo right now that's floating on a Dogman page that was taken in Indiana, and it was off a trail cam, and I clearly see a black subject in the back corner of it, like a shadowy looking figure, and it looks like a canine head. But some people are saying, oh, it's not a black bear. Well, black bears on average stand 5 to 7 feet on hind legs. Yes, they don't stand on their legs for very long, but looking at the photo, it looks like it would be a 7-foot tall Dogman, but where the trail cam is taken, it looks like it's only 2 to 3 feet off the ground. So, I mean, like I said, photos are subjective. I didn't say the person, hey, that you're wrong, but I was like, I asked them a series of questions, and questions they couldn't answer. So it's just, we have to leave that out for others to decide. But that's why I say photos are extremely subjective. And you just, as an investigator, not to offend anyone, you just need to ask the right questions. And, maybe you can say that photo and add it to an archive or a collection or a database like what you do with Kenny.
100%. And again, excellent. I appreciate everything you just said. And the thing that kind of bothers me a little bit when everyone wants to hoard their research, that's not how you achieve something. Because wait a second, how am I reading about the cynocephali in 290 BC? I didn't get that. I'm pretty sure Herodotus and Alexander the Great told me about that. Wait, did I just steal their documentation? No, I documented it and I put it together in a spot. Or instead of just reading about that, you can then also go read about other aspects of why the cynocephali ties into all that. So it's like, wait a second, why do people approach something like that? It's not, I mean, if you're trying to figure out a subject, it shouldn't be about stealing knowledge. It should be taking and adding on to the knowledge. So what happens with Linda Godfrey now? Unfortunately, rest in peace, she's passed away. But wait, by documenting her stuff, you're stealing her knowledge? No, you're documenting it and making sure that it's living on and it's actually adding merit to more evidence, etc. I think people should stop the curve on that. And also, to my audience, please, I am willing to say 100% of your paranormal stuff on TikTok is not real. Let's give a thought to this. Shane's one of my best friends. But I'm telling you right now, if I was out in the wilderness with him, whether it was a grizzly bear or a dog man, and this thing was charging at me, I'm not pulling my phone out to start recording anything. I'm not flipping open my TikTok app. I'm running. And if I turn around and I see Shane doing that, well, guess what? You're never going to see that because Shane's not going to exist anymore. So let's just be a little bit more tactful on how we present stuff, like Shane was saying, because there's a reason why people in the general public will laugh at something like this. Yet in actuality, as I just stated, we have evidence ranging back to 290 BC, and I have a book I'm working on, an archive of 526 pages at the moment. There's credence to all this.
Yeah, there really is. And like you said, you're documenting this stuff. You're not stealing it. That's what we're trying to do at the NADP, is document this stuff and have it out there. And Kenny, like with his book coming out, hopefully in the near future, but just you said, document this stuff. It's not stealing anyone's evidence. Now, if you're actually taking it and then publishing it and saying this is yours,
Yes, that's a
that
difference.
yeah, that's a difference. But actually documenting this stuff, that's what we're just trying to do at the end of the day, and just try to see that, hey, there is a creature. And like you had stated, if we're out in the woods, I'm not going to sit there and turn around. I'm going to be Dogman bait. Sorry, if I'm trying to get that $1 million photo, that's what's going to happen. When you do go out in the woods, you really have to be vigilant. And I mean, have your head on a 360 swivel, because when you are out there, you don't know what you're running into. And like you said earlier about the Sasquatch, that you're walking into their territory. It'd be like you, Kenny, walking in my house. You're like my best friend, I wouldn't mind. But let's just say you're a stranger and I'm sleeping at 12 o'clock at night or even in the middle of the day, and you come walking in and you want to just go to use my bathroom without my knowledge. I'm going to be offended. I'm going to be alarmed. I'm going to be triggered, and I'm going to attack, not knowing who you are. That's how.
Wait, you're not gonna grab your phone and just record for a second? You're not gonna put me on Snapchat before I assault you or whatever? Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So you got to think of, like, when you're out there, that when you're in the woods, that's how it's going to be. You're not going to sit there and have your TikTok app working and saying, oh, most of the time when these actual boots on the ground investigators I investigate as much as I can, but when I go to these certain areas, Kenny, you go deep in the woods, you go less than a mile into the woods, you lose cell service. So unless you've got your phone on record the whole time, which I would recommend someone, if you do want to have that 360 image, get a GoPro. I mean, look at the late Scott Carpenter. He's got some really good photos of Dogman, or footage. I wouldn't even say photos, but where he had the camera facing backwards. I call that the Scott Carpenter method, is where you have the camera facing behind you. And he's caught in a lot of Sasquatch and a lot of Dogman evidence. Me personally, I don't think he was trying to hoax anything. I think he was just like us. He was just trying to look for answers and go out. And the only way you're going to get answers, we've talked about this before, Kenny, though, like how we have our online researchers and we have our field investigators. We have to have both go hand in hand, because at the end of the day, I can bring you all the evidence, Kenny, but if there's no one that's is just an online researcher, doesn't document that, it's all just hearsay. So I think that with this field, especially at the NADP, we have our field investigators, we have our online researchers, but as a team, we collaborate together. So we have the people that get the evidence. So let's just say that there was a Dogman that left a hair sample behind. Well, it could have been a Dogman, it could be a bear, but we send it in to our team, and then we send it out to people that Jody highly holds regards to, that can sample the stuff and to tell us if it was a black bear or unknown canine. Well, hey, if it's unknown canine, well, that's where 2 and 2, and then Kenny, you would be able to document that on the website. It's as a team organization. We have to have the field and we have to have the online researchers collaborate. But some people just want to say, oh, if you're an online researcher, your credit's not that great, whatever. You don't get out in the field. Well, I'm sorry, but we need the people, like your book and what we were just talking about. We need people to document the stuff from 290 BC to current events now. So I think that's what, at the end of the day, Kenny, that's what we need in this field, and I think what we're doing our best at the North American Dogman Project.
100%. Again, I appreciate everything you just said. It's no different than when they're trying to figure out, for example, the Nano-Tyrannosaurus or the Tyrannosaurus Rex, if it was actually a separate species or was it a juvenile Tyrannosaurus. Well, they just recently were able to put that to bed. Well, how do you think they put that to bed? Oh, wait a second. All the scientists worked together to figure out why it was a different species. So what are we doing here? I mean, isn't that the point? At the end of the day, I'm a historian, I'm a journalist, I'm a videographer, graphics designer. Cool, I can present all this stuff, but I'm not a scientist. I'm not a biologist, okay? And the reason Jeff Meldrum and the late John Bindernagel and people like that stepped in, people like Jody Cook, people that actually took their time to put their name to the topic, was because there was scientific evidence and it was presented to them. I can tell you right now, with the way some people act in our field, if they ever approach somebody like Jeff Meldrum, I'm pretty sure that guy would be open-minded to talk to somebody if we presented things in a very good way to him. I mean, Doug Hychak is speaking to us and we present something good to them. But if you just were to present with how some of these people act and with some of these obvious men in a ghillie suit, no wonder people don't take it serious, even though there is plenty, if not more, there is just as much evidence for Dogman as Sasquatch.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like you said, we have to take this. We have to have certain individuals in this field to take it serious and present the evidence that's given to us forward to these people. Like you said, Colleen, who is a biologist or a scientist, we have to have the scientific aspect of it, but we also need the, the eyewitness accounts to it, because like you said, I'm not going to name the individual that was on Monster Quest, but yes, it was clearly a ghillie suit and it was put as a fraud. But then again, I almost feel like there's certain people that are put in these fields to try to make it laughable. But I believe that there's more eyewitnesses that not coming forward because we live in the age of technology, but that are coming forward that might have seen something 5-10 years ago, but we're documenting that, and we need that. And like, we need to have people with certain degrees that are willing to be open to this. And I feel like as a community or as an organization, I think with being at North American Dogman Project, we have enough evidence. Like you said earlier, I believe there is just enough evidence of Dogman as there is Sasquatch. Now, obviously, the people that aren't believers in the Dogman saying, "Oh, that doesn't exist. That's Hollywood. That only Sasquatch exists." Well, those are they're saying that they're open-minded, but then technically they're not. Being open-minded is open-minded to anything that's possible. An upright Canaan walking on two legs, standing at 7-8 feet tall. But to be closed-minded, saying, "Oh no, it's just Sasquatch." I mean, that's where we got to try to present the narrative to, there's some people are seeing something. Now, Kenny, if you and I just started up our own little organization and we, started the field of Dogman and we only got 5 reports, well, okay, it's 5 people probably looking for the 5 minutes of fame. But if you look at recorded history from the Wexford County, Michigan case, that was the very first documented case here in the U.S. back in 1887, but going all the way to just recent day, there's obviously a similar pattern. I mean, yeah, could it be a misidentified Sasquatch, or could it be a Gugway possibly? We don't really know, but obviously the person eyewitnesses is our best evidence that we have to date until we actually do have more physical evidence other than a footprint or fur sample. But that's where it comes down at the end of the day. There's obviously a pattern. People are seeing something. So for these closed-minded people to say, "Oh, upright canids don't exist," well, Kenny, I think you presented it in a couple of your episodes, like the cynocephaly and the history of dog-headed creatures and upright canids. It goes back to the beginning of time. Even our native cultures here in the U.S. talk about it, like the Ulonga Duglala, the spirit with knife teeth. I think it's translated in Cherokee, is that's what it stands for. But I mean, these people, the natives, what are they going to gain from this? They're just telling you their history, and that's where the natives are so reluctant to tell us anything because of the ridicule. But they do talk about in their history with certain individuals that have documented this stuff. They talk about the Chiatonka, the Genosqua, and trading, living amongst these beasts of Sasquatch and Dogman. It's just it's there. The evidence is right there.
Again, beautifully said. And if people want to even dive a little bit more scientifically, and this is actually what Colleen and I are supposed to talk about tomorrow, so we're going to give a little tidbit. But I mean, we got the Amphicenoidae, and which is half bear, half wolf. We also have the Dinopithecus, enormous baboon type beast. So now you have the different variations of some of the Dogman reports. And, potentially all those animals could easily cross the land bridge when other animals did, and also could still have potential ancestors. People don't really seem to understand that, as I had stated, as we wrap this up here, you look at cryptids, okay? You got the Jersey Devil. I'm just going to name off some of the big ones: Mothman, Lizardman, reptilians, gnomes. It doesn't matter. Okay, make your choice. Loch Ness Monster. I have right now, and Shane's seen them, more footprints of potential Dogman, because I use the word potential because this is what we're about, than any of those things I just said to you. As far as I know, I don't know anyone that has Mothman footprints. I have potentially seen something on Monster Quest about supposed Jersey Devil footprints, but it was documented to be an owl by people that were specialized to come in and see that. So that was debunked. How many spots of Loch Ness Monster do you have coming up on the beach? So this is just what I'm saying here. We probably have just as many Dogman footprints as we do Sasquatch footprints.
Yeah, I totally agree on that aspect. And, like you said, it's potential because we don't know yet. Do we have to be open-minded to this thing that, yes, it could be a possible wolf? But I mean, that's where you got to really break down and dive down the rabbit hole a little bit more and start looking, is there any known wolves around there? A lot of wolves, especially out here in California, were eradicated by 1920. Just recently, they started releasing more packs. I think we have like 7 or 8 packs now in the state of California. So now running into more canine prints are going to be potential wolf, but we don't know that because there's sightings of Dogman out here in California. So like you said, I think there is just as much evidence as there is Dogman as there is Sasquatch, but people aren't looking at that. People are trying to look for that, shack-sized print of a hominid creature like a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch. That there's a Dogman track that they just happen to just walk by and not even notice it. So really, like you said, I believe there's this much evidence out there. We need more people to actually, like you said, in the field. We need like people like Colleen, a scientific aspect of this. We need to almost bring in every single perspective of this to understand what is this upright canid that people are seeing.
100%, because as you said, we all need to work together as a team to get this done, and that's what we're going to do. We'll definitely figure it out. I do hope it's in our lifetime, and I'm very optimistic that it will be. So, but I do thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and sit down and hang out with us at the Fox Den tonight for this episode of Midnight Lycanthropy. And I do definitely appreciate everything you do in general, but also everything you do for the North American Dogman Project. Make sure to keep me in the loop with any cool or updated theories you have that potentially tie into some of the stuff that we're working on. And I definitely look forward to, when you get a little bit more time, getting you back on here.
Yeah, brother, thank you for having me on. Like I said, I love what you're doing at Midnight Lycanthropy and what you're doing here at the North American Dogman Project. It's an honor to call you my best friend and a teammate and someone we definitely could collaborate. We talk all the time, every day. But yeah, I'd love to get you. I know we were going to talk about some other stuff, but maybe we'll do a part 2 in the near future, and we'll go over some stuff that we're working on over here at the West Coast Dogman Project. And yeah, like I said, I'd love to have you back on too on the Dogman Vortex podcast. But I'll definitely hit you up soon, though, brother.
Sounds good, my friend. Yes, I would love to do all that, and we definitely will. I'll talk to you here soon.
All right, brother, you take care and have a great evening.
Thank you for everyone who once again stopped by for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. If you do enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, and share it. Feed the algorithm. And until next time, stay safe out there.